I've had a lot of people want my take on this situation because for some reason, I guess it's one of those things when enough time goes by, people are like thinking you said something else. I mean, as we found out the other day when John De La Rose was saying like the complete wrong thing about my take on it, he was like, oh, he literally said that he loves the gay or whatever. I don't remember what he said. Something along the lines of that I was loving that it was having gay things in it. And I'm like, what? that's not what I said at all. What are we doing here? I didn't say that. My whole stance on the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 thing, and God, this whole story has been played out. I don't know how much more I can mentally and emotionally give to it. But my whole take on it was like, hey, it's optional. You don't have to do it. And unless something comes out that proves otherwise, I'm going to assume that it's just a game where they're trying new things and it is what it is. And sure as hell, what happens like 3 months later, do we get an interview with Daniel Vávra, the head of Warhorse Studios, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, basically admitting that he did make the game woke to appease journos. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. And in a wild twist of fate, I would say it worked out so well for him because he made it through the launch window, sold a ton of copies of this game. I'd imagine they made all their money back and then some on it. And now nobody can boycott it. Nobody can do anything. It's just, yep, sorry. Now I was watching Hypnotic and his stream tonight, and I heard his take saying that nothing changes for him. I would disagree. I disagree. Things do change for me on this. One, I will never trust this man again. Whatever he makes next, I am not going to be looking forward to it. My whole mentality shifted when I saw this because I was like, bro, and I was surprised that was Hypno's take. Which, by the way, Hypno's welcome to his take, and I'm not saying my take's right and his take's wrong. I recall when I was talking to Hypnotic about this before that I said, okay, you would agree though if that something comes out down the road that proves that it is woke, that you'll change your mind on. And he's like, yeah, of course. If something comes out, like that was the conversation I had with him. So if that's the case, this coming out is not enough to change his mind on it. Okay. There's Hypnotic right there. He says, nothing changes in terms of my viewpoints. The game is still good and Daniel Vávra is still an idiot. Literally nothing has changed. Well, those two things have not changed. I would agree with that. As far as I have not played the game, by the way, but I would agree with your take on it, that you enjoyed the game. And I would agree that Daniel Vávra is still an idiot. What I am saying is there's like a third thing that I feel like you're not acknowledging, which is like the guy deceived people. He straight up lied. He was pretending that it wasn't woke. And he clearly got caught here saying, yeah, it was. He was just trying to appease people. He didn't want to get canceled. And I understand, like you were saying in your stream, Hypno, I understand that times were different back when they started making the game and they didn't want to be canceled. I understand all that. But at the same time, like I have a very hard time defending the guy that is going to say, yeah, I know I told you guys it's totally not woke. And then it is. Sorry. What are you going to do? We already sold all the copies. So it is what it is. Did you watch the video? Yeah, I was watching your live stream. Reddit doesn't give you the full context, FYI. That's fair. I guess I'm just going with the sentiment. Even if there's more context where it's just like a little thing, I will skip right to it. And I didn't mean to turn this into putting Hypno on the hot seat, by the way. I was just bringing him up because I was a little bit surprised by his take. That's all. You're welcome to have it. I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I was surprised by it. I thought you were going to say something different. That's fine. Which, again, the two things you mentioned, I agree, did not change. I think what people are wondering about is like the third thing that you didn't talk about is well, what about the whole situation with it's woke, it's not woke, and we talked about this. Let me know if you want to talk while editing. It's not. If not, it's all good. This conversation is retarded as Kingdom Come Deliverance. And it's all being drummed up by Gamergate 3 all over again for the lulz. No, that's not true. That's not true. I would be covering this and saying the same thing without JDA or anything like that. Because this is like the smoking gun that I was like looking for. If there was ever anything that came out about this where I'm like, bro, like come on. Like this is the whole thing where I'm like, I didn't think that there'd be something so straightforward. But I don't want to bother you while you're editing. If you want to hop on for a few minutes, I'll shoot you the link and we can chat. But by no means don't feel obligated. I know you're super busy, dude. The point, and I read this out, and I'm like, yes, there's more context, but moderator and the producer, didn't interfere with the development in any way, even in this case of Culture Wars. No, we were rather careful. They were interested in what we were doing and were informed, but they liked it and didn't tell us what to add or remove. Perhaps it was also like that because we self-censored. Of course you self-censor. There are things you think really hard about, how you portray them, because in this age of oversensitive people, ... Moderator, any examples? Vávra, we verified everything with a ton of different consultants to make sure that no one will complain that we portray anyone differently than it should be. For every religion, every minority, every group of people. We had consultants we send our script to, and we ask them whether we have something wrong in the script. And the things they said to us were cool. In the end, the game is better thanks to that, as they told us what to remove. Okay, now with that context, we have Hypno in the back room. So time for mom and dad to fight in front of everyone, guys. Here we go. Let's do this. Bring them on, Hypno. So here's the thing. I'm not going to glaze you. I think your take was fantastic.
I like the glazing.
I know. I think your take was fantastic. I feel like the problem
No, it's not. Stop lying.
No. Seriously. But hear me out. There's a big but.
Hopefully, if it's a woman's. But yeah, anyway.
I feel like there was, and I'll leave this up to you to answer, because I know there were a lot of people. I saw your chat going too. So I didn't know if you wanted to address it again, maybe with some additional context. But there was like, I feel like a third angle, because you were focused on the two things that didn't change for you, which again, I completely agree. Those two things do not change. You enjoyed the game. Great. More power to you. Nothing changes with this.
Again, the whole argument is that, well, first off, in the video, I don't know if you watched it, but I wouldn't take
watching you, but yeah,
I wouldn't take what he says at face value again. But again, if you were going to take what he says and believe it, he says that everything he put in the game was his own choice and his own volition, supposedly. So even all the supposed woke stuff is still of his own decision, creatively anyway. Now, for me, it was always, I don't consider it to be woke because it's optional. I've always said this. So everything that's being said in this video literally changes nothing about that. I'm sticking to the fact that I think it's a good game. I don't think it's woke because it has one optional gay scene. And if people want to lose their mind over it, just like they did 3 months ago, and you want to relive the past, then go ahead, by all means. But it doesn't change anything for me.
This game,
and also it says he sent it to consultants, but where does it say sensitivity or SBI like consultants? Where does it say that?
Right. I think that's like a leap that people are making, which it may not be that kind of thing, which is fair. You don't want to just jump to the worst thing possible.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, where does it say like they're saying, like, if it sent it to sensitivity readers or something along those lines, fine. But there's other form of consultancy other than just SBI. So I need a little bit of clarification. I didn't get that in the 22-minute video, but apparently there is a paywalled version of this video that's much longer, and I'm not paying for that shit because I feel like that's a trap. So if anybody can find that context and find out what kind of consultants they were, that would be very, very helpful.
Well, they said here, he then goes on to talk about how the other side attacked him and called him woke, and that could have ironically helped him because the group that hated them the first time started knee-jerk cheering for them because they hate each other.
He tried to please both sides.
Yep.
And that's
which again goes back to your
retarded.
second point of he's an idiot, which I agree wholeheartedly. I agree he needs a PR guy. I think but I almost feel like that's making excuses for his actions.
Well, I never excuse his actions. His actions are horrible.
Yeah. I think like he is a very talented game developer that is not meant for the public eye. You know what I mean?
It's because he is easily baited, number one, and he doesn't know how to let things go, number two.
He just wants to make everyone happy.
I don't know if it's that. I think he just wants to fight everybody. I think he wants to be proven right all the time. And it ends up being a situation where it's like, you know, he ends up going against one side and then goes against the other. Because remember, originally he was going against supposed Gamergate journalists, and then they started calling him a Trump supporter and a fascist and all this stuff. And, and then he started going to, you know, it's all over the place. It's him. He's the problem. He's the problem. Which is why, again, I'm not looking at the game and being like, oh, I'm playing Daniel Vávra. No, I'm playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Is it a good game? Yes or no? That's up to me to decide. But in terms of Daniel Vávra, I've never agreed with what he said ever.
That's true. And this is actually good to have you on here because I did not play the game. You did. When you played the game, did it strike you as something that was a woke game or whatever, however you define woke? Like, did it have
no, I didn't get into a single gay thing ever. And again, I didn't get to the part where Musa was at, so I never got to experience that. But from what I saw, it's like, again, none of this. When I played the game, all I got was big titty women running around, drunk people trying to fight me all the time, doing silly side quests, and first person interesting combat. Like that's all I got.
That's fair.
So, and again, I don't care, bro. Like people are like, oh, you're glazing this game again, bro. You're the ones that brought it up, not me. Like people started bringing this shit up again and wanted me to react to it. So I'm like, all right, but I've been well past this situation. Just like starting tomorrow, guess what? I'm going well past this situation again, and people want to get mad. I don't, bro. Really,
well, that's kind of how you have to be about it too. Because if you let this drag you down, it's going to destroy anybody.
Yeah, people are gonna say I'm angry, I'm coping, I'm defensive, I'm this same shit as 3 months ago, bro. Yep. I don't give a fuck. Nothing changes, man. It's all the same shit over and over and over again.
Well, I do think it's kind of funny when this came up today. The first thing that happened, and no, this is not why I'm bringing up the situation, but since we're talking about it, I'm going to bring it up. I started getting pinged by my new reply guy. I don't know if you know this, but I got a reply guy now, which is weird. But
you didn't have a reply guy before?
No, I got a reply guy. JDA. Everything I ever post now, he's there saying something every single time, which is great for interaction, but it's weird.
I guess. I mean, whatever.
But regardless, he's now on this crusade, I guess you could say, to get me to apologize for my take. And
that should be fun.
And I'm very confused as to what I'm supposed to apologize for.
Is he in the chat right now?
I'm sure he is. He's probably got like a different name he's under, but I'm sure he's here.
You realize that a lot of that doesn't really necessarily have to do with you more so than the fact that Daniel Vávra, on one of his tweets that went super viral, by the way, basically listed his assault thing.
Yes.
And that went so viral when Vávra did it that it caused JDA to like just have this personal fucking grudge against him. And it was just a back and forth like spat between the two. Nonstop.
But to your point on that, like, again, that goes back to, sure, Vávra is well within his rights. He's a free person to write whatever he wants. But in the position he's in, I would not recommend that as a PR guy to do something like that. Like, let YouTubers fight those bullshit battles. Like, I don't think he needs to get in the mud with people. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He can't let things go. Like, if something bothers him, I think it's pretty obvious that he just goes straight for like the response. Usually it's the petty response, which again will elicit a certain response from a group of people. And if you're doing this kind of action with both sides of the aisle, then it's only a matter of time before a train gets ran on you, and things are not going to look good for you. So
true. I just think it's funny because he's on a crusade to get apology. It's like an apology tour, which I feel like they've done this before too.
Yeah, it's all back. It's all back all over again. 3 months ago, back again.
it's like a way to get attention, which I guess here we are talking about it, but good on you to be like, I don't give a fuck, I'm done with it, I'm moving on. So that's the way I guess I should be too. I guess my greater concern.
No,
But
you could be different. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? Be different, have different opinions, and agree, disagree, all that good stuff. That's why we do this.
Right. But I guess we will part on diverging paths where this changes my impression of Warhorse Studios and Vávra moving forward. And for you, you still want to give them the time of day and give them a chance when their next game comes out.
I don't know about that. It all depends on the game and what I see and whether or not people want me to review it. See, things are different now. Like I'm not just a regular consumer now. Like when I buy video games and play video games, half of the time it's games that are gifted to me that people ask me to review. So my decision is a little bit different now. But as a consumer, I would have to look at the game and see. I judge every game from a base by base basis. So I'm not gonna look at the previous game and say, okay, that was great, I'm gonna immediately buy the third one. Just like the first one was good, didn't make me immediately buy the second one. And it all depends. But things are different for me a little bit now. So
okay, so
and also too, by the way, for you to say, just FYI, for you to say what you said earlier, which is this changes your mindset of Warhorse and Daniel Vávra. Is that to assume that you had a good mindset of that in the first place? Because the reason why this doesn't change,
it does, because it wasn't a good mindset. It was like I feel like I understand the type of person where he's a little bit wonky and wacky and is bad with PR, but he didn't strike me as someone who would actively deceive to sell more copies of a game. I guess
I would never. Like that. See, that's the thing. This is why nothing changes for me, because I never looked at him in any positive light whatsoever. And Warhorse Studios, like for a studio in general, I try not to let one person bring down an entire studio, but sometimes that does happen, right? Like there are some people that are so fucking retarded that they end up bringing down the entire studio with them. I'm looking at you, Obsidian, right? What the art guy, whatever his name was, Matt Hansen. There we go. Yeah. So like Matt Hansen fucking made it all about him and dragged the whole studio down with him.
Yep.
You know, sometimes that happens. But in terms of Daniel Vávra, I never had a positive sentiment of it, which is exactly why like people are like, oh, does this change your mind? No, because I was never positive about him to begin with.
Gotcha. Well, I guess that actually is a weird way for us to kind of agree. Like we disagree, but it kind of brings us to the same point.
The chat wants to fight you, all right?
No, but I mean, like we disagree, but we get to the same end point, but we disagree on how we got there.
I want to go back to see it was more fun that way.
True.
That's what it is. You know, it's as simple as that. I am going to wake up tomorrow and think nothing of this game. Like seriously, nothing of Daniel Vávra, nothing of the situation. I reacted to it because people wanted me to, and that's just what it goes. But it doesn't change anything for me because I always had a bad. I don't know if I want to call it a bad impression, but it's always like a cautious impression. Like I never quite trusted the guy because again, I saw some of the things he was saying to some people on one side, and I saw some things he was saying to people on the other side, and I realized what he was doing, where he's kind of playing the field a little bit, and it almost seemed like he was just trying to survive the launch, if that makes sense. Like he was just trying to survive the launch of the game, make it like just kind of lay low or not be a little bit too crazy for a few weeks until the game was like fully out there. And then like 3 months later, he has this interview and now he's reigniting the world again. And I don't know if he's having this interview knowing that that's going to happen, but I got to imagine you must have at some point because he's obviously self-aware, right? Like in the interview, he talks about both sides hating him and both sides hating him for reasons because he tried to basically adhere to both sides. Where, for example, in the video, he says one thing that really stood out to me. He says he added some things in the game that he felt the other side, mainly the Gamergate journalist side, would have appreciated. However, he wanted to do it from a historical accuracy standpoint, and he realized that was going to make them unhappy because they want it from a modern ideology standpoint, and that immediately pissed them off. And then by doing something that was technically in his eyes meant for them, even though he wanted to do it regardless, by trying to make it somewhat historically accurate, that pissed off the other side too, because they're like, well, why are you putting this in the game? This was never in the game. And that's basically it. Like he wanted to do this according to his words, but again, I don't necessarily believe him, but take it with a grain of salt. He wanted to do this and he fucked both sides. And by fucking both sides, well, I mean, you get the shit. But at this point, this is all going to go away again after a couple of weeks. And his game, that's why I was asking, like, at the end of the stream when I was reacting to it, I said, quite frankly, like, what does this change? Like, what does this change? This changes nothing because the game is still successful. Daniel Vávra is still an idiot, right? And
well,
me,
I will answer. What does it change? It changes like my approach to Warhorse Studios, where you said it doesn't. You said you're still going to approach it on a case by case. And for me, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to approach it with, if Daniel Vávra is there, I'm not going to be looking at a game like, oh yeah, I'll give the game a chance. I'm like, no, this guy, he already showed his hand here. So I feel that's where I think the division of.
But you're thinking like a consumer smash. That's the thing. Like, as a consumer, sure, I can agree with you, fine. But I review games whether or not I ideologically agree with them or not. If people want me to review them, I'm going to review them. So for me, the choice doesn't change. Like, nothing changes. That's why I said, for me, nothing changes. But I can understand if for other people it changes.
It's a matter.
Yeah, because if that's the case, I didn't see anybody bitching that I was playing Veilguard. They were laughing. I made it into a meme. Veilguard has people that ideologically hate us.
Almost died playing Dustborn. So yeah.
I played Dustborn. People donated $2,000 to troll me to play and review Dustborn, right? Nobody cared about it. So it's a totally different sense of it. But that's why I always speak for myself. I don't speak for no one else. I let people make up their own minds and their own decisions, and then they go from there. I don't give a what people say, bro. At the end of the day, if I made the decision like 7 months ago to start reviewing games because I felt like we needed a little bit more transparency. We don't get that, unfortunately. So that's what I decided to do. And sometimes that means I review games that I pretty much are gonna hate. Like, I already kind of know I'm gonna hate it, but I take
the midnight.
Yeah, but I take my opinions out of it. I take my bias out of it and just objectively look at the game. That's why I can say the good things, the bad things, the ugly about the game, and just move on. And that's basically it.
I think that's a really important distinction to make here, though. Is I think I approach games from the consumer perspective. You approach games as I'm just going to play these games perspective, which are two different things.
Right. That's basically it. And I keep in mind, by the way, when I've reviewed these woke video games, I have specifically said many times, you could go back to my streams. I said, if I wasn't a streamer, there is no way I would have spent my money on this. Zero. Absolutely zero. And I will make that distinction for certain video games that obviously deserve it. Like Veilguard would have been one of them. Never would have bought that game. So that's basically it. I mean, that's where we're at. And that's why for me, nothing changes. But I can understand for you, it might. Because I know you don't review games. You're talking about games that you're going to buy and play in your own time for fun.
Yeah, exactly. So it's two different approaches for sure. Dude, thank you so much for joining. And I hope that clears it up for most people.
It won't, but that's okay.
Yeah, but you know what? People will still watch either way. So
again, I want to make it very clear, though. This fucking guy, like Daniel Vávra, needs to get off the internet.
Yes.
He needs to focus on making video games because I think that is what he's good at. I think he is very good at making video games, and stop trying to appease everybody. And just go back to making video games. That's it. Get off the internet. And if you're going to go on the internet, get a PR person, which apparently he has one. Which
but he's still talking over them anyway. He'll just be like, he'll talk over them anyway. He'll be like, yeah, I'll take care of this one. Like, no, that's the whole point of the PR person.
Yeah, no, apparently he has a PR person. I don't know what they're doing because they're letting him just go rampant on Twitter and have whatever kind of conversations he has. And it just leads to nonsense. It really does. Because ironically, a lot of the issues that surrounded KCD2 came from his mouth.
True.
So,
and I even made a video defending JDA way back originally because I thought he was unhinged going at JDA, but that was the original. And look how far we've come since then. So
yeah.